Some of my favorite stories on It's a Miracle are the ones where the odds of something happening are so great, they're absolutely staggering. And this next story may beat them all. In it, the past and the present collide in a totally unexpected, nearly impossible way, changing two lives forever. Lorelei Manning never knew her family. Her father died shortly after she was born, and her mother was too ill to take care of her. Eventually, Lorelei was placed in an orphanage in Manchester, New Hampshire.
I was about 5 years old when I went into St. Peter's Orphanage. I was very much afraid because there was so much space. It was like you were lost in this big, huge building that could have probably swallowed you up. It was very cold. No warmth at all to it. Never got any love from the nuns. There was no way of they're ever putting their arms around you and saying you're a good girl. Now, love, there was no love in that place.
It was a lonely place for a young girl who dreamed only of having a family.
We had what we called visitors that would come in, and it was almost like we were put on display. I was hoping somebody would take me, and if you weren't picked, it was, what's wrong with me? Why? You know, why didn't somebody pick me?
Lorelei was never chosen, but it didn't stop her from dreaming.
I could sit on the swings and just look at the clouds and kind of make pictures out of them. And I'd sit there and say, well, you know, they say our family's up in heaven. I wonder if my father's in that cloud. And I truly always wanted his arms around me just to say things would be okay. Just to have somebody say they love you, you know, and really mean it. Oh.
And then, one day, a new girl arrived at the orphanage.
Girls, this is Patricia.
From the moment I saw Pat when she walked into that room, it was like, I had to go get her by the hand.
Sister, can Patricia sit with me?
We weren't supposed to get up off the chair, but I did. And the nun kind of looked at me and I said, can she come sit with us?
Is this your first year here? This is my second.
Pat was afraid.
Oh, don't cry, Patricia.
The same as we all did, not knowing where we were, what was going to happen. I remember Pat crying.
Hi, everything's going to be okay. I can be your friend. Do you want to be my friend?
From that day on, Pat and Lorelei were inseparable.
We pretty much, I guess, talked the same language and felt emotionally the same. There was food that Pat didn't like that I would eat so she wouldn't get into trouble. Pat did not like oatmeal. I'd finish mine and say, okay, when she's not looking, pass your plate.
Suddenly, life at the orphanage was no longer lonely or sad.
We had our fun with waxing the floors and buffing them. So we pretended we were skating or skateboarding or anything, you know, just having our fun. And I remember making beds with her and throwing pillows. Tricia and I became very much like sisters to each other.
Good night, girls. Good night.
Lorelei's dream had finally come true. But sadly, she would wake one day and find Patricia gone. Once again, Lorelei was on her own.
You'd get up in the morning, she wasn't there. There were certain things that you would do, Patricia wasn't there anymore.
When Lorelei turned 18, she left the only home she'd ever known. By now, the two girls had completely lost track of each other. But Lorelei was determined to find her sister.
So I went to the library. They gave me phone books to look at. I went through phone book after phone book.
Hello, is this the Arnold residence?
But what was the hardest part is I only had her maiden name.
I'm looking for Patricia Arnold. I got your number on the yellow pages.
She could have been married by then for all I know.
I'm sorry to bother you. Thanks.
I did go back to the orphanage at one time, and they wouldn't even really let me pass the doorway. Asked them, don't they have any records left of us? I mean, somebody has to have something. She said, even if we did, we can't give you that. I even looked through obituaries in the newspapers, not hoping to find it, but maybe if I did, then my search can stop, that the yearning just wouldn't be there.
But she never found a clue to Patricia's whereabouts.
I came up with absolutely nothing. And I just finally said, let it go.
Coming up, 42 years later and thousands of miles away, a mysterious force leads Lorelei back to Patricia
Lorelei, what was
in an amazing and miraculous way.
All of a sudden, right in front of the parking lot driveway, my steering wheel just went right out of my hand.
The remarkable conclusion when It's a Miracle continues.
After years of desperately searching for her sister, Patricia, and finding no answers,
I'm sorry to bother you.
Lorelei Manning went on with her life. She married, raised a family, and eventually settled down in Holiday, Florida. And then, on December 7th, 1999, while driving with a friend, something truly amazing happened.
There's the gazebo. I had a bunch of errands to do, and I had asked my neighbor Ruthie to go with me, figuring, we'd stop and maybe have lunch on the way back.
Well, we could go to the Boston restaurants. Nah.
But none of the restaurants they passed seemed to appeal to Lorelei.
Sure? Yeah, because...
And there was also a question of finances.
No, Ruthie, I don't even know what I have in my wallet.
But I said, first, we gotta see what we have in our wallet for money, because I'm saying lunch and I don't even know what I have. She had $3 and I had a $5.
Well, here's Bob Evans. Can't we stop here? Or you want to go?
With only $8 between them, the two women decided to forget about lunch and just head home.
So we came to this light.
Okay, let's do that.
The light changed, I took off, and all of a sudden,
Lorelei, what was that? My God.
right in front of the parking lot driveway, my steering wheel just went right out of my hand.
Oh my God! I think my steering belt just broke, Ruthie.
And I said, Ruthie, I gotta get off the road or I'm gonna get hit.
Where we are, too.
I said, here goes nothing. So I slowly just steered the car into the parking lot and into a spot. Sat there for a minute and I said, oh boy. Well, I guess we're here, Ruth. Let's go to lunch.
Just over, we'll be with you in a few minutes.
They decided to each order a bowl of soup and split a sandwich.
That sounds good, yeah. The gentleman sitting on the other side of me said, boy, does that soup smell good.
It smells good, doesn't it?
Sure does.
If you'll hold on, I'll tell you if it tastes good. Good flavor.
We continued eating, and all of a sudden he says,
Excuse me a second. Where are you from?
and I said, Holiday, Florida. And he goes, no, 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 no. Where are you originally from?
New England.
Where in New England?
Manchester, New Hampshire. You know it?
Then I heard him say to this lady sitting next to him, she's from New Hampshire.
Part of Manchester.
On the west side, on Kelly Street.
Manchester?
Yeah.
She started to stand up, and I looked over at her and I said, do you know what Kelly Street is? And she says,
St. Peter's.
Orphanage.
Yeah, do you know it?
I grew up in St. Peter's Orphanage.
I grew up in St. Peter's Orphanage.
and I said, what's your name? She says, Patricia. I said, Patricia Arnold? She goes, yeah.
Who does?
I'm Lorelei.
Lorelei Manning.
Oh my God.
By this time, we're in there hugging each other, crying, and then when we looked around, everybody else was crying on our side.
Oh my God. I don't believe this. I always wondered where you were.
I mean, everybody in there was ecstatic. The people that were sitting behind us were clapping. People were going, oh my God, what a miracle.
We had stopped the whole restaurant. They didn't know what was happening. The waitress was ready to call 911.
Oh my God.
After 42 years, Patricia and Lorelei had found each other again.
There was such warmth that just came through to both of us. It was like we went back in time to little kids. That time stopped around us for those few minutes. It was like, this can't be real.
That was the happiest day of my life. I was so happy. I mean, I had goosebumps. My whole insides were shaking. And then the memories came back of many, many years ago when we were little girls.
Patricia's memories were bittersweet. She too had suffered after being separated from her best friend.
I miss Lorelei terribly. I had nobody to talk to now. I sat in my room many nights and cried.
She particularly remembered the last time she had seen Lorelei on a return visit to the orphanage.
She'd say, Pat's here, Pat's here. And I'd grab her hands through the fence. We cried. We were lonely. And she asked me, how you doing, Pat? That's not too good. I wasn't.
But the bond of love that Pat and Lorelei shared as girls had never weakened.
I never forgot Lorelei. Never.
I did wonder if Pat was searching for me, because I had such a strong conviction on it. I really thought that maybe my feelings were actually going through to her. And I guess I kind of hoped she was, saying that maybe I could send her a message. If I thought strong enough of her, maybe she'd think of me. I mean, miracles do happen.
Now I feel I have gotten my sister back, and I will not lose her either.
What am I going to do with you? I don't know.
Since their miraculous reunion in 1999, Patricia has moved to Florida to be near Lorelei. And like true sisters, they spend their days remembering the past and planning the future.
That's the little girl that said hi, Pat.
Yep.
There's Lorelei right there.
Here's Pat right there.
That's a long time ago, lady.
Yep.
Wow.
You remember this?
Yeah.
Look at this one.
But most of all, they give thanks to the incredible good fortune that brought them back together
Here
again.
we are in the... I'm Lorelei.
Lorelei Manning.
Oh my God, Patricia.
The odds of Lorelei and I finding each other are 1 in a million. It just doesn't happen every day.
When there are so many separate pieces that must come together to create a reunion like the one you just saw, there's no better way to describe it than it's a miracle. And I think that Lorelei and Patricia would agree. They join us now from their home in Holiday, Florida. Good evening, ladies.
Hi, Richard.
Hello, Richard. How are you? What a pleasure to meet you.
The pleasure's all mine. So what is it like to be living together again after all these years?
It's going great, right, Lorelei?
I think so. It's fine. It's been fun.
Yes.
And it still seems like a dream.
Now, I understand that your reunion has started you on a search for more of your orphan mates.
Yes, we have. We haven't given up yet. We have found about 98 of them so far, thanks through the Manchester Union leader up in New England, where we're from. He's put the ad on the front page. It has brought a lot of the kids out of the woodwork, which I didn't realize were probably within a 50-mile range of the orphanage area.
Any plans for a reunion?
Next August, huge reunion with all of them, and the husbands and boyfriends or whatever, up in New England, back up that way, and we're hoping to have a real good turnout, because it seems like everybody is really aiming for it and excited about it.
Well, if any of the classmates you haven't found are watching tonight, I hope they'll contact you through the Manchester Union leader. And thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thanks a lot, Richard.
Thank you,
very,
Richard.
very much.
Like you said, it's a miracle.
Yes, it is. Good night.
Night.
Bye.